Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Stav, and I'm from Israel Cloud's team. Today, we will have a joint event with TigerGraph about best practices and case studies of smarter AI with analytical graph database. Our first session will be about driving business outcomes with graph database and AI by Martin Darling, VP EMEA at TigerGraph. After that, we will continue with this session about using graph to boost AI that will be delivered by Uri Lapidot, Senior Product Manager at Intuit. If you have questions during the event, you can ask them via the chat or the Q&A section. I'm sure that you will enjoy today's event. And now, Martin, the stage is yours. Good luck.
Just want to make sure everyone can see my screen and hear me. I do realize we did a practice run.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, look, thanks everybody for joining the call this afternoon. Much appreciated. So Martin Darling, Vice President of EMEA. I've been with TigerGraph for about coming up 3 years. And I just want to take about 10 minutes just to introduce TigerGraph as a company to you and what we're doing before handing over to Yuri from Intuit, who will give a much more meaningful session on how they've been using graph databases and graph analytics specifically to improve the business over at Intuit. So we're very grateful for Yuri to take the time to spend with us all this afternoon. So TigerGraph may not be well known to everybody on the call. So just to say, we've been around since about 2012. We're headquartered in the US. We're expanding rapidly across the region. And effectively what we've done is we've taken a new look at the whole idea of graph analytics. And what we've brought to market is sort of next generation scale out, designed for cloud and for large quantities of data with inbuilt analytics graph database. So we spent about the first 7 or 8 years in stealth mode, and we only commercially brought the product to market about 3 years ago. And in that time, we've secured 7 of the world's largest 10 banks as our customers. We have other customers such as Jaguar Land Rover. So overall, the adoption has been really good. And we feel that we're really beginning to deliver on the promise that Graph had so many years ago. So it's a highly scalable platform with incredible performance because it has distributed compute. We find a lot of our customers use it as a foundational layer for artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions. It's ACID compliant, so it's also designed for OLTP and OLAP workloads. The language that we ship is called GSQL. That's looks as much like SQL as we can make it at the moment, but the language problem is going away over time. There is a industry body that's working towards a common graph language, and TigerGraph is part of that committee and part of that process. So when there is eventually a standard graph language, that will be something that TigerGraph customers can benefit from. For those who want to know how to get their hands on TigerGraph, we're available in all 3 cloud marketplaces, Google, Microsoft, and AWS. We also have a free tier that's available to download for people who want to have explore with it on premise, and we also have a free tier in the cloud. So it's easy to start with, and it's easy to start to use. As I said, we have the largest banks in the world. We also have some of the largest health insurance companies and the largest telcos. We work a lot in media, and we do have a lot of innovative startups, and we are also particularly strong in the cybersecurity space. Here in EMEA, we have a couple of customers who are government security organizations who use TigerGraph for border protection and security use cases. But obviously, we can't talk about those customers in too much detail. So the message we're trying to get across here is we've only been commercially available for a few years. We're a very aggressive young company. We're looking to expand quickly, and there has been wide and broad acceptance and adoption of our platform. So for those who are looking for what's different with TigerGraph, graph databases has been around for a while, but what TigerGraph brought to the market, which was fairly new, was this idea of integrated graph analytics and at scale. And it's the analytics piece, being able to do something meaningful with the data that is allowing our customers to drive meaningful value from their data. So we work closely with Gartner. Gartner has a great saying, which is, the question is not whether to graph or not to graph. You will graph. The question is, when will you graph? So what we're really seeing is a very broad adoption of graph as people realize that they are able to get new insights from their data. They're able to do things and answer questions that they've been unable to answer for years by using the unique attributes of a scale-out graph analytics platform. Gartner is predicting that adoption of graph analytics will grow from around 15% today to around 80% of enterprises using graph analytics as a means of driving business insight within the next 3 years. And we're certainly seeing that rate of interest in our offering based on the number of inbounds and downloads that we see in customers who we engage with. So this is a significant trend. It certainly initially gained traction in financial services, but it's now something that we see across life sciences, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, because it is really a horizontal data-driven value proposition. So why graph and why not RDBMS? I put this slide in because in reality, most of our customers are trying to solve these types of problems, but obviously there's a big inclination to work with the tools that people already have. And in the true tradition of the technology industry, the names that we use for our technologies does not always make things easy to understand. So relational databases are great, and NoSQL databases are great at what they do. It's just unfortunate that the one thing that they really can't do well is relationships, which is unfortunate when they're called a relational database. So it's very difficult to model or store relationships in a RDBMS without a significant amount of complexity. And one of the real differences in a graph database is that the relationship between data entities is a first-class citizen and can be assigned different attributes and can be part of the analytics calculation. So if you having to consider a lot of joins or query complexity in your application or your use case, there's a good chance that if you have a look at TigerGraph, you'll find things will be much, much quicker and much, much easier to implement. Because with a graph database like TigerGraph, it is designed from the ground up to deal with joins. That's what it's there for. That's really a key value proposition, is it's very, very simple to join data sets and data pipelines together without complexity. And then it's also easy to add new relationships or data types that require schema and modeling effort as you grow. So the graph database just masks all of that complexity. If you have new data sources that you need to add or new data models, it's very simple to add those into the TigerGraph platform. And obviously, we do talk to a lot of customers and they have tried to do this on their older relational tools, but ultimately the feedback is that the performance degrades as the number of relationships increase and the data size increases, to the point that it really isn't the most effective tool. It's not that you can't do this with a relational database. I'm not calling this out as a challenge. What we're saying is it's really not the best use of your time or of that particular tool. It's something that graph databases were designed to do. So this is my last slide before I hand over to Yuri. There are sort of 3 key elements to what TigerGraph ships, and as I said, is available on a free cloud download, or there's a free on-prem version too. The first thing you get is a highly scalable distributed graph database. And the point of that tool particularly is that it's really simple to join together different data sets and different data pipelines. So for example, we have United Healthcare Group, who is the largest health insurer in the US, and they've joined together over 200 data sources to deliver a real-time customer 360 system that improves the quality of care for 50 million members. And this member journey user interface with customer 360 is used by over 23,000 call center agents. So, it's a significant scale application. We have a Fortune 50 retailer that's connected over 100 data sets to build an item 360 for their e-commerce business. And Xander, who are part of AT&T, they connected multiple data sources together, from data including HBO Max and HBO and Warner Media properties, to build an identity graph, which helps them identify and clarify exactly who that user is, to make sure that they're providing the right level of service to that user, but also to make sure that that user access is not being abused by anybody. So the first thing you get with TigerGraph is this scale-out graph database that is designed from the ground up to be easy to connect different data sources to. The second thing you get is this inbuilt advanced analytics. A customer here in the UK is Jaguar Land Rover. They have used TigerGraph to connect their forecast data to their supplier data for more effective supply chain planning. And that has accelerated some of the processes from 3 weeks down to a matter of minutes. And also in that space, we have China Mobile, one of the largest mobile operators in the world, and they're using TigerGraph for improved fraud detection with up to 750 million calls a day. Now, the last piece, and I was pleased to see that this links me nicely into Intuit, is we have in-database machine learning. And I think it's probably going to be, Intuit has built an AI-based customer 360 with in-database machine learning for entity resolution, personalized recommendations, and fraud detection. But I really think it's probably best if I hand over to Yuri now, who can talk more about his experience with Graph and get into a bit more customer-specific detail. So thanks for listening to me this afternoon, I should say. I'll now hand over to Yuri for the rest of the session. Thank you.